Hey, what's going on, YouTube? I'm back with another story. Today I'm picking up with the Nolan Wells story. Recently, his parents came out with a press conference, so we're about to get into that. And then I'm also going to share the press conference with his parents and also the one with Ben Crump and also Reverend Sharpton. Hold on. I had the video. Hold on. Okay, so this is the video that's from Law and Crime that they just came out with not too recently.
Presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Look, if you follow us here on Sidebar, we're always talking about the risks out there, the dangers. Have you ever thought about a data breach? You and your loved ones, your private information, constantly a risk of being leaked, which is why I want all of you to keep your data safe online. Here's how you do it. Incogni. Incogni tracks down all these old posts and search sites exposing your information, and then they demand its removal. Look, I was shocked. Turns out databases had my information, and within days, Incogni was taking them all down. The setup is super simple. You just create an account. Incogni is going to do the rest. And their unlimited plans custom removals feature lets you submit specific links that their privacy experts will personally investigate and remove. They can't harm you if they can't find you. Use code SIDEBAR at the link below and get 60% off an annual plan. That's incogni.com/sidebar. All right, so we're coming back to a story that has been haunting this Mississippi community. This is a story that has captivated the country right now. We're talking about the death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells, a college athlete, a beloved son. He was a young man who police say just went out to celebrate the 4th of July on a barrier island with friends and never came home. Now, we were on this when that devastating news came in. You'll remember earlier this week, we spoke with a member of the United Cajun Navy, someone who was actually a part of that search for Nolan, in the air searching when the news came in that a Park Service ranger had discovered Nolan's body. And since then, there have been some big updates that we got to talk about. As a matter of fact, the case has gotten so much attention that even some notable names are weighing in, calling this case a tragedy, but praying for justice, praying for transparency. And also, this is interesting too, there is a judge with apparently a connection to this case who's now spoken out, looking to seemingly set the record straight on these rumors surrounding her family's connection or involvement. And now the case is being attached to perhaps one of the most recognizable civil rights attorneys in the country, Ben Crump. Just recently spoke to ABC News, raised some serious questions about the handling of this case, is now representing Nolan's family. And all this while Nolan's body is being flown out of state for an independent autopsy, the results of which are potentially, reportedly, expected as soon as tomorrow. But I just want to take a moment here because a lot has happened and I want to try to get an understanding of it before we get into the new details. So this all started with that trip to Horn Island on the 4th of July. Now, if you're not familiar, Horn Island is this long, thin barrier island. It's about 10 miles off the coast of Mississippi. It's part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore, only accessible by boat. It's known as a spot where people like to go have some fun out on the water, especially on a holiday like the 4th of July. And that is exactly what authorities say 18-year-old Nolan Wells and a group of friends decided to do. That they apparently took out a private boat out to the island for the day, and something went wrong while he was out there. According to police, Nolan was last seen at around 3 p.m. on the northwest tip of Horn Island. His friends reportedly told searchers that he wanted to stay behind to talk to a girl, was planning to catch a ride back with another group. They ended up leaving, but when Nolan didn't return home, his mother reported him missing. setting off this massive search, involved multiple agencies, including the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, the United Case.
Now, according to the girlfriend is saying that that's not true, that Nolan actually actually went back to the boat. So that's one of the conflicting statements right there.
Cajun Navy. Now, we spoke with the vice president of the United Cajun Navy, Brian Trasher, in our previous episode because he was part of the search. He was actually searching in the air when the news came in about Nolan's body.
I saw the body from about 300 feet in the air, and I can tell you that it did not appear to be waterlogged. It was only in the water for a couple of days, but nevertheless, the sheriff's office put out a statement saying that they had no reason to believe it was not Nolan.
Yeah, so a park ranger discovered this body in the water off the northwest tip of the island on July 7th. The family confirmed it was Nolan, but this is where things get complicated because since that time, the case has taken some turns. The questions have only deepened. And I want to talk about what is happening right now. And now I want to bring on somebody to help make sense of everything that's happening. Joining me now, civil rights attorney, friend of the show, Joe Richardson. Joe, thank you so much for coming on. Particularly, I know you're at a conference, so you're very generous with your time. So, Joe, thank you.
Always good to be here with you, Jesse, always.
Thank you. I feel the same. So I want to start with the biggest development here, right? Arguably the biggest development. The family has hired Ben Crump, who is now representing them. He has been involved in some of the most high-profile cases in the country in the last few years, if you think about it, right? Representing the families of George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Breonna Taylor. And he put out a statement this week that's getting, a lot of people's attention. I want to read part of it. Quote, "We've been retained by the family of Nolan Wells, a beloved son, teammate, and friend who went out to celebrate the 4th of July and never came home. The wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College was preparing to return for the upcoming football season and would have turned 19 next month. His family deserves answers. They deserve the truth. We will not rest until every fact about what happened to Nolan on Horn Island is brought into the light, and we call on investigators to pursue this case with the urgency and transparency this family deserves." Now, Crump also spoke with ABC News and revealed that Nolan's body is being flown to Washington, D.C. for an independent autopsy, saying the family has concerns about the investigation being handled in the state of Mississippi. Joe, before I even go to the independent autopsy, why hire a lawyer?
Because of all of the things that you don't know. Things happen very quickly as it pertains to a death. And gosh forbid there's something to hide. We're not saying that that's the case, but if there was something to hide, after an autopsy and you put that body in the ground, the body's not going to tell you any tales. And so we'll talk more about the autopsy, but that's one of the things that an attorney will do is get you a private autopsy. In the case of Ben Crump, he's also going to get you the attention that's going to ask questions that will put pressure on the powers that be, as it were, the people that are supposed to investigate thoroughly, et cetera. Because there are unanswered questions, you have to do the best you can to get to a place where you have every question answered that can be answered. You're not there, but is every question answered that can be answered? If the answer is no, and you can find an attorney that can draw attention as well as investigate, direct traffic, point at things, as well as address it with the media, then that's what you do.
Does this signal to you that either the family, the friends, they believe that something's not right with this investigation, or is it just to cover your bases? They know it's getting a lot of attention. This, like you said, Ben Crump is a renowned figure in the legal industry. You wonder if he has back channels with law enforcement, his own sources, if he can put pressure on law enforcement or the prosecutor's office or who. And I'm not saying that there's a crime that has been committed, but is this signaling to you that something is not right, or the family believes something is not right?
Yeah, I think that could very well be the case. I mean, Ben Crump, he's nationally known. I've seen him in San Bernardino down the street from me. But where people got to know him on a national standpoint is in Florida, where he's from. But he's got connections to the South, of course, deep connections to the South, went to school in the South, has handled cases in Mississippi, et cetera. So it would make sense that Ben Crump or somebody like him would be able to press buttons right away and start to ask the right questions and to pull on the right resources, make the right calls in terms of understanding what's out of sorts about an investigation. So it's not only trying to get at what we believe may be the truth or whatever we can know about it, but is anything being done differently than how it would normally be done. So he brings to the table all of those types of things.
Legally, can a lawyer file something with the court or file something to put pressure on law enforcement or to direct law enforcement to release information to the family?
I think that you have to look at whether and to what extent the powers that be here, I believe it's going to be the state of Mississippi as of right now, is not doing what it would normally do. If there's something that's not being made available as quickly as it would normally be, the key is entities get in trouble for not following their own rules, right? So what's really important is to make sure that they are following their own rules. And to the extent that you're asking for something that maybe there's some gray area about, release the tape. Release, a lot of times we might be talking about body cam when it's talking about police and things like that. We're far enough along where there are often specifics related to those rules. But if there's gray area where there's no specific prohibition on releasing something, releasing some information, doing X or Y or Z, and the police or the investigators aren't doing it, then maybe that's what the media attention helps to do, particularly if, the shoe's on the other foot now. Often when people get pulled over or when people deal with.
You can tell he's a lawyer because that's by how he's answering these questions. It was a yes or no to what the question that he asked was, there something legally that can be done? But I can answer that it would be no, not really. He's just answering it in the gray area.
Police, they say, well, if you've got nothing to hide, let me search the car. So now here are people saying, authorities, if you have nothing to hide, be as transparent as you can possibly be within the law to let us know everything we can know about what happened.
Is this also, and I'm not saying this is a motivation for the family, but is there also a potential that you hire a firm like this to start to see whether or not there is a framework for potential lawsuit?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Because what Ben Crump and the Ben Crumps of the world are going to do, and what we all try to do, is find out where the holes are. Here are the holes. Here are the things that we don't know that we ought to. There might be some things that we will never know because we weren't there. But what are some things that are out of sorts that we can figure out and things that we know we can't figure out? And the question becomes, to the extent that they can, why aren't the authorities, the investigations, et cetera, filling all of that in? Not to get ahead of ourselves, depending on what you're going to be asking about, but there's also the element that one of these kids' mom is judge.
I do want to talk about that.
Okay, yeah. So, and she's put her toe in the water too. So there's a lot of powerful people dealing with it. That's why as much attention that can be brought to it is really important.
Oh, okay. So now we're getting somewhere. So one of the kids that was on the boat has a mom that's a judge.
Important, but you want to understand whether and to what extent there may be legal rights that were infringed on or something that might be actionable.
I want to ask about this independent autopsy. Why conduct an independent autopsy? Why order one? Why do it outside of Mississippi? So this is a significant move. The state medical examiner already reportedly performed an autopsy on July 7th. Now, officials say those results could take a couple of weeks because they're doing toxicology and other tests.
Not to pause it or keep pausing it, but also to mention that these friends has also lawyered up. So I can kind of see where they got that legal advice, kind of connecting the dots here.
Testing. But Crump has indicated that the independent autopsy results are expected as soon as tomorrow. And in speaking with ABC News, Crump said, we're trying to be very transparent because the family has some concerns about the state of Mississippi doing an investigation. We have investigators talking to witnesses that have no alignment or no allegiance to the state, and that's important. What's going on here, Joe?
I think they're looking both ways before they cross the street. One of the biggest pieces of evidence is the body. Not to sound morbid or whatever, but there's a chance that if a drowning is being alleged and there's trauma that's inconsistent with the drowning, then we know that raises more questions and that creates more problems. There's also an argument that perhaps the state of Mississippi, depending on what may have happened, depending on what they suspect may have happened, that they can't necessarily prove one way or the other, they may be incentivized to close the book. I've dealt with cases where you're trying to uncover information and you're dealing with a coroner or you're dealing with investigators, fire investigators, et cetera, fill in the blank. When something fits a narrative and they put it away, they do that. We would love to say, oh, we'll leave no stone unturned, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not always the case. So what's the best way to be sure that you've uncovered all of the information you possibly can? I think it's because you do, and that's why you need to do an independent autopsy, so that there is a scenario under which, and we're talking about the Deep South, we're talking about a very charged political time. We're talking about one black kid with several white kids. There is a scenario under which there could potentially be something to hide, and someone may choose sides in that regard. But the body itself, theoretically, could at least allay some concerns about how one may have died, et cetera. And it might be said that you certainly get information quicker. That question, that might be consistent with
But that's a point, right? How can you
Right.
get information quicker if the state examination is like, we can't definitively conclude what happened until we do this additional testing? That's why it's going to take some weeks. Couldn't an argument be, well, if you have an independent autopsy and they're coming with results tomorrow, it's not as thorough? Or am I looking at it the wrong way?
I don't think you're looking at it the wrong way. I think that there's an argument for that, but I also think that you get what you pay for. That independent autopsy is not cheap. That's why most people don't get it. There's a whole lot of people that don't want to believe what the coroner said about this or that thing. I had a case recently where I've got the coroner, as it pertains to manner of death, that's going along with what happened here out in the field, and deferring to what happened with the investigators, what the investigators said, including a person's past history. So a lot of things can figure in where perhaps you get the same information, but there are certain things that you can get quicker. The independent autopsy is not going to tell you everything right away either, but you might be able to get some indications a bit quicker than you would if you were going the public route. So here, there's both that are going on. People would, may argue, oh, if it's quicker, then obviously it can't be good information. But on the other side, there are those of us that may believe in a worst case scenario that if it's public information with people that might have something to hide, or people that are connected to people of influence, then maybe we can't be as sure as we would like to be about what the result is.
And it at least provides the family with some answers and a potential path of inconsistency
Right.
with what the state medical examiner has. So I want to talk about something else. You mentioned it, the judge. There is a judge who is apparently directly connected to this case, now broken her silence. We're talking about Chancery Judge Ashley Cole, whose son was one of the friends out on the boat trip with Nolan, posted a lengthy statement on Facebook saying, quote, "Our son loved Nolan dearly. Unfortunately, I feel that it is appropriate for our family to dispel some rumors with facts based upon the social media attention that is being diverted away from the Wells family and their loss. Our son was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last at around 3 p.m. on July 4th. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taking on water and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. My family is hopeful that this information will help to redirect the attention to the Wells family, their grief, and their need for our community support." Joe, first of all, this is a judge, right? Second of all, didn't have to make a statement, made a statement, and gave some very specific details about the last.
She didn't have to give a statement either, as he said, but I feel like maybe it's trying to steer the narrative her in direction, maybe, if her son is involved, which I do believe he is, because there's a lot of reasons why they think these friends are involved in this. And I do believe as well, too, that they are.
Or some of the last movements and activities of Nolan. What do you take away from it?
The judge is putting her toe in the water. Judges often go out of their way not to make public statements because they're judges. And it is interesting that she's making this statement. And I will give you 10-1. Jackson County is probably a small enough place, figuratively, if not literally, where I will give you 10-1 that she knows, or the prosecutor. She knows the prosecutor knows her. She knows the investigating agency, or the investigating agency knows her. And she knows the coroner's agency, or the coroner's agency knows her. So when you put
Deep ties in the South, the good old boy system is what they call it.
Put all of that together, and I'm the family of this deceased, that doesn't necessarily put me at ease. I think there's two things that you can agree with right now between those families and those parents. I don't believe either of them wanted the son dead. Okay. And I believe that they both understand that the judge doesn't want her kid to go to jail either. So all of this is going on, which makes transparency related to the investigation all the more important. And even though she framed it as something that would divert attention back to the family. She's talking about the family's grief. She's not talking about the family's justice. So there's a difference there in terms of what it is that's happening. How you see things depends on from where you sit. And I don't think she had to put her toe in the water at all. She decided to, but I think that says a lot as well, potentially.
Didn't you think it was interesting? Another group of friends. He went with another group of friends.
Yeah, it's on them.
That was interesting.
Yeah, potentially on them. And so, but did he leave the other group of friends his cell phone? If that's true, what they reported is that somehow they showed up, the group of friends that left him showed up with his cell phone. Now, they say it's a pretty remote place and there's not a lot of service out there. I don't know how well your cell service works or whatever, but it seems like to me, I'd keep my cell phone. If I have a 19-year-old kid, whether I thought it was going to work or not, it wouldn't occur to me to leave. So that's the biggest question right now. It's actually, it's circumstantial evidence. It's that. It's not DNA. It's something like that. Why did this kid leave them the cell phone if that's what actually happened? I wasn't there. So it leads to some very interesting questions. And when you put all of that together, now I can see both sides of the coin as to why Judge Mom might want to put her toe in the water.
He was with them on the boat, so they had to have had a cell phone. That's how they had it. It wouldn't make sense for him to stay on the island and for them to recover the phone with the friends. That doesn't make sense. So, yeah, somebody's lying.
Let's get into where law enforcement is with all of this. So the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, they put out an updated press release and asking anyone who was on or near Horn Island on July 4th to come forward if they have any original unedited photos or videos that were taken around that time. The Sheriff's Office even said even information that may seem insignificant could prove valuable to investigators. We encourage anyone with firsthand knowledge to come forward. And the sheriff also noted that there are no surveillance cameras on Horn Island. So that makes any footage being captured or capturing anything at all more valuable. Joe, what does this tell you that the Sheriff's Office is now putting out that appeal? What are they hoping to find? You tell me.
Well, I thought it was interesting to me, and maybe it means nothing to someone else, or maybe it means nothing to them, and it's nothing to be alarmed at, but they're asking for just firsthand information. Quote, firsthand information, photos, things like that, photos, videos. But right now, I don't know that you want to be discriminate about the information that comes in. It's your job to sort through it. And if not for any other reason, then all of the transparency that the circumstances now require. Okay. Just like going to court, if I'm going to court, hearsay might not get in. It might not be admissible, but it is discoverable. Maybe if one of these kids' girlfriends heard one of these guys say something, one of these girlfriends' friends said, "Oh, I've got regrets." That would be something to follow up on, even though it's not firsthand. So right now we can talk about firsthand information later, but anybody that's got anything to say, when you put out a dragnet for information, in my opinion, you don't tell people, just give me this type of information, because you are the investigating agency and you can decipher and discern what's good, what's not, what you can follow up on. And I think that with a lack of cameras, with a lack of a lot of the firsthand information that you may have in a place that's more inhabited, et cetera, I think it makes it all the more important to get information from wherever you can, and you do the work to sift through it so that you avoid the appearance of impropriety in both actuality and perception. You've done everything you can do to answer every question that you possibly can so that everyone can move on.
Talk about video. It is worth noting that there has been,
in other words, damage control. That's what I call it, or see it.
Some speculation online, including these reports from TMZ, that authorities are looking at a video that allegedly shows this heated argument that occurred on or near that island that day. I will tell you, I don't know if you've seen it, but I will tell you the Sheriff's Office hasn't even confirmed that. I don't know if you've seen this video, but what are your thoughts on it?
Well, that's another thing to follow up on. I tell you, as a side note, it's amazing how often, we've got all of these news outlets, the ABCs and the CBSs. Often, here's TMZ with, boom, this thing, you know what I mean? And you have got to follow up on it, because if there's potential that actually happened there, that might explain something, And so I'd better have that information, investigate it, figure out that I don't need it, than need that information and not have it. So it's another thing to follow up on. And it's another piece that might help to explain why they show up with his cell phone, but not with him, assuming that happened. I'm believing the report, but there's just things that don't quite make sense. And parents know, if there's something amiss, if they know that their child wouldn't be without their cell phone. I know my child wouldn't be without hers in any instance, not voluntarily. And so does that mean that somebody needs to have the book thrown at them and get the electric chair? No, not necessarily. But it is something that we got to follow up on, and we got to leave no stone unturned. And the judge didn't talk about that.
No. And look, and goes back to the larger question about so much attention, pressure being put on. There is also, I should mention this, there's also pressure coming from outside law enforcement. You have Representative Benny Thompson, Mississippi Democrat, has urged investigators to conduct a transparent and timely investigation. The NAACP posted on Instagram saying their hearts are with the family and friends. And I actually want to go now to something about the family because, look, they're going through something that...
Yeah, this is caught national attention. Even Reverend Al Sharpton is now invested as well, him being an activist of such. Many cases that he has spoke about or, advocated for, I want to say. I'm sorry to pause the video.
Nobody should have to experience. I mean, it's one thing to go through this, but having all this attention now on it. And Nolan's mother has been posting to social media throughout this, and she shared the heartbreaking news when his body was found. But now she's asking for something else. She posted this to Facebook recently. It says, quote, "Missing our Nolan so much every second."
Yeah, I would agree, my Joy. From what I've seen, phones were still working and people were still taking pictures and videos.
Second of every day. This has been the worst time in our lives. Watching his siblings go through the motions of grief adds another layer to the sadness. Please keep us in your prayers and continue to respect our privacy. There is another layer to this, because if we speak about videos or we speak about, videos that are out there, apparently there are these AI generated videos that have been circling online appearing to show Nolan's mother saying she won't have a funeral for Nolan. There's a video even appears to show clips allegedly of him. His mother posted the video to Facebook, calling it fake, begging people to leave the family alone. This is a whole different problem for victims and victims' families, or those who just lose loved ones in 2026, right? I mean, what do you make of this? And by the way, does someone have a legal right of action? Do they have a legal cause of action to go after people that make AI videos of them?
Well, boy, it's a loaded question. It's a perfect example of ways in which the law may not have quite caught up with every potential circumstance that's related to AI, that's related to technology, right? And so, therefore, there's a question. If there is publishing of something that someone knows not to be true, there's potential for defamation. It's really interesting because I never thought of defamation so much in that particular context. But if someone is saying something that's knowingly not true, that might be a route, depending on, what jurisdiction you're in, infliction of emotional distress in all of its forms, intentional or negligent.
I would also imagine someone using your name, image, and likeness for personal profit. If you're making videos and getting clicks on it and getting money for it, I'm not saying that's what happened, but that's something too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so there are things there, you have to kind of adjust your thinking a little bit because we're in this AI generation. But again, now you're talking about AI, you're talking about what's real and what's fake and how it can take us away from what's actually important. You've got implications here of race. You've got implications of politics and all these other things. And so therefore, depending on who you are, whether you're talking about, it's amazing, whether you're talking about this deceased young man or whether you're talking about Caitlin Clark, you have situations where people with different agendas can take it and run with it. And now they're incentivized to make something real, fake, or vice versa. And it's kind of a problem. And how do you wade all the way through it? So even though the family put out the word to try to get help and figure out where their son was, I could certainly understand them wanting to have privacy, to not be bothered, and certainly not to have anything that's said that's not true about them being said, being implied, being created with caricatures and AI and those types of things.
Look, Joe, this is a really distressing story. It has new layers to it. I want to continue to follow it. I appreciate you coming on, giving us some things to think about. And again, for being so generous with your time, because I know you're at a conference, and but I really wanted to hear from you on this. So thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate it.
Always great to be with you. Honor, Jesse. Appreciate you.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe.
All right, so that was the latest update with the Nolan Wells, and also giving an insight from a civil rights attorney on what he thinks about the case. Now we're about to leap into the press conference with the family in a second. I smell a cover-up, though. And there's also an alleged argument video of Nolan Wells, but they haven't confirmed or verified whether or not that was him. So I'm not going to play that. I saw the video and I couldn't hear anything. I didn't hear an alleged argument at all. I saw people on the beach, and I saw people just making noise distinctly in the background. So it sounded like it was just people on the beach congregating and things like that and conversing. I didn't hear an argument in that video, and I didn't see who was who in that video, but that's just what's going around. So this is the press conference of the parents of Nolan Wells. And yeah, don't forget, folks, smash the like button if you're in the building. They have the right attorney on this case, though. I will say Ben Crump, that the family has retained. They got the best lawyer, or one of the best lawyers there is, to make some noise shake. A lot of people may say Ben Crump is only for, the spotlight and the cameras. In this type of situation, we need the spotlight and the cameras to, to make noise, to share the awareness.
Wansley, as well as their attorney, Ben Crump. And before we get started, first off, I want to thank you for being here under these circumstances. Know how extremely tough it must be. And we can express how sorry we are for you and your family. And first question, how are you two holding up?
Taking it second by second.
Day by day. Second by second and day by day, which we all can understand. And I just want to ask you, the friends that Nolan traveled to Horn Island with, they say that he stayed behind voluntarily. Why would he stay behind?
That we cannot answer. I can't fathom why he would. I
don't know why he would. We always taught him to, if you go with a group, you stay with a group. Mm-hmm. Even when he was in college, he would say, Dad, well, we're going to ride down to a party or something in another city. Now, so I was telling him, look, if you go with 5, you come back with 5. Do not separate from your group. Because I always say safety is in numbers. Mm-hmm. And he always said, yes, sir. So he knew to stay with his group. So why would he split from his group? I don't know.
So that would have been unusual for him to split from the group. Yeah. And you said he would always check in with you. Did he check in with you that day?
So that day, no, I don't. But of course, too, they were on the boat. And usually when he is out there, which it's not uncommon, he's, I think, since last year, he's been going there occasionally with his friends. And so it would always just be like, hey, Mom, I'm back, type of thing. But this time there was no call or text from him. It was from his friend.
And then, too, really didn't worry a lot about it because, it was his last weekend to have fun. Yeah. Because that Monday, he had to report to school. We was preparing to take him back for camp to prepare for the season. So, we understand he wanted to have his last little hurrah before he locked down and get ready for the season. Because, like I said, the entire summer he's training. He got more serious. He started to understand what I was trying to tell him about football, not just being fun, but as you get farther in it, it becomes a business. If you want to excel, you have to understand both at the same time.
And we know, Ben, that you said that you're going to do an independent investigation.
Yes.
And you said you have Nolan's cell phone and messages were deleted. How could you tell messages were deleted?
Well, his parents got the phone back, and that's something that's important, Michael, because they track this phone on Life 360.
So Life 360, but when I received the phone call,
that's another thing. If these so-called quote unquote friends didn't have nothing to do with this, why are you hiding the devices? Why do they have to track these devices down to you? Why do you have possession of them? Why not just return these devices immediately afterwards? And why are there text messages that's missing?
From Warren, I immediately called my friend Tashima and I said, hey, have you guys seen Nolan? Because her two sons, Jalen and Javon, like they grew up together. They played city league sports together. When they got into school, they played sports together. And so she was like, hey, like, okay, the boys were pulling up the location from Snapchat. So the Snapchat location looks completely different than the Life 360 location. So when I pulled up Life 360, it was different. It was showing everywhere the phone had been. Like I was like, well, it's showing that he's back on land. Like he's like, but no, he didn't come back with us.
Well, how were you able to get the phone?
So we tracked it and my friend Tashima went and picked it up.
It wasn't like they said, we got his phone, they tracked it. And that highlights all these contradictions, Michael. The fact that they said Nolan was talking to a young woman and she said that he said, I'm going back to get on the boat with the boys. The boys said that he said he was going to stay with her. And so that's an obvious contradiction. And then this video of this, you can hear an argument going where Nolan is saying, give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing? And so then his phone ends up missing. I don't know any teenagers, Michael Strahan, who says, if you believe that story, I'm going to stay behind and I'm going to leave my phone. I mean, no young person leaves their cell phone. And so then there's so many things their parents were telling us about, even why didn't his body wash up with the tide on Sunday? Why would it come on Monday? It's not adding up. And that is the problem when you think about the history of Mississippi.
Yeah, so there's so many questions that need to be answered. And is there anything you'd like people to know about Nolan? What would you like them to know about your son?
No,
It's okay.
Nolan, take your time. Nolan was very loving. He was liked by all. It was not a friend he couldn't make.
No, we'll be right back with more for the parents of Nolan Wells and attorney Ben Crump. We're back now on GMA with the parents of Nolan Wells, Christina and Elmore Wansley. And I want you to please continue to tell us what you want the world to know about your son.
So Nolan was just like this bright light, right? Walk into a room, his smile, his energy was just so infectious. Like it's almost like he drew you into him. And he was just one of those people, like he always wanted everyone to be included. He didn't want anyone to feel left out. I remember one of his teachers emailing us. I can't remember what grade he was in, but basically it was math class. They had a special needs student and she asked a question and Nolan got everyone to put their hands down because he wanted that student to answer. And so student answers the question and she was like, Christine, the classroom, Nolan went crazy and everyone else started going crazy, just celebrating that child. Mm-hmm. Making them feel included. And that was the person he was. Like he loved everyone. And I always told Nolan, like, you have to be careful when you have such a big heart like that. I love that God blessed you with that, but you have to be careful with that because that it's not always returned, that type of love. But he was just genuinely a good person. Like I always say, all the best parts of me are with him.
Mm. And Dad, anything else you want to add?
It's just, he's going to be really missed. I know a lot of his teammates, they all look to him as a leader. He's more like a silent leader. Not real big on words, more action, which is kind of like I was. I really wasn't real.
The video with the argument will not be played because I cannot verify whether or not it's authentic or even if it's valid.
Big on talking. I really wanted to show you, and you follow me, and people follow him. And it's gravitated. He put in the work, he worked hard, and he knew he was focused on what he wanted. And he wanted to make life better for, his family. He wanted to have his own family. He used to say, Dad, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to build this. I said, well, son, you got to take it one step at a time. Slow down, let's go, let's walk this thing out. Let's train, let's sign our deals, let's make these teams, make these camps, put the work in, and everything else will work out. Even his baby brother, their bond got even stronger, because now I have a big brother that he's finna do something. So now I want to outdo that. So his focus and his confidence has got even better. So I was looking forward to both of them having outstanding years.
Seasons,
He seemed like he inspired in the home, and he inspired outside of the home. And Attorney Crump, where do we go from here? What's next?
Well, the deleted.
So look, I understand that that's the video Ben Crump was talking about, but that's not the video that I'm going to play on this live. But I appreciate
messages that Christina was going to briefly touch on. We want to get the phone and figure that out.
Backtrack on that. When we finally got his phone, me and my sister went through the phone. We went in his Snapchat. He had 2 accounts, absolutely nothing. It wasn't even 24 hours, which is how long videos and pictures stay in Snapchat. And I was just like, that can't be. Like, I've seen Nolan whenever he snaps, like when he goes and he's having fun, like he does videos. Like, there was absolutely nothing, no saved videos. And even my sister was like, yeah, that's suspicious,
Michael, we having an independent autopsy done at the behest of his family. Colin Kaepernick helped pay for the independent autopsy. We flew his body up from Mississippi to D.C. because they wanted an autopsy done by a person with no interaction with the Mississippi law enforcement, because there's an issue of trust here that is really important. And the fact that they keep trying to say, suggesting it was a drowning, but nobody out there reported him drowning, it's not adding up, Michael Strahan. It is not adding up.
And honestly, we are doing this because at the end of the day, I would hope any parent would fight for their kids to find out if anything happened, what did happen. So we just want honesty and transparency. We want a thorough investigation. We want that same respect that would be given to anybody else, and that's it. We just want answers.
Well, we really appreciate all of you being here. We hope you get the answers that you deserve to have, and we hope you get the closure that you need. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
So that was the press conference that we just got through watching of the family of Nolan Wells. Hey, welcome in, Dakisha. Yeah, that's what I said. I don't know what happened. Sorry. Hold on 1 second. And we know something happened. I'm not discounting that an argument or a fight did not take place. That's not what I'm saying. Far from that. Because I believe it did. I just did not hear that and that. I didn't hear anything. All right, so we're going to hear from Reverend Al Sharpton.
Immediately before a week time, saying there was
and accountability. The family of Nolan Wells about to speak there in New York on the unanswered questions surrounding the death of their 18-year-old son, Al Sharpton, at the mic
Hey,
right
welcome
now.
in, Purple Paradox.
In my judgment, seemed to have mishandled where it was going, because to just immediately before a week time saying there was nothing done wrong, when we hear that this young man was engaged in some kind of argument that was on tape, that his cell phone and keys ended up with one of the people that were there on the island and got away. He was one black with 3 young white men who happened to end up with his phone, happened to end up with his keys. Then there's just too many questions that they should not be closing the investigation. Now, I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm a little different than some of y'all. I was built different. My nose is out here, my eyes are here, my brain is here, which means some things I could smell before I could see and before I can figure out. This does not smell right. So some people are saying, Reverend, are y'all bringing in race? Well, we're not bringing in race, but we're not discounting race either, because we don't know what it is. So to tell us don't rush to judgment saying it was racist is fine. But then I'm telling you, don't rush to judgment saying it was not racism, because we do not know. We do know what these parents are being told, and what the parents have now shared with us does not make sense. How do you end up a young, promising football player, not in trouble, mother and daddy at home, everything we tell them to do and be? They go on the 4th of July, on the anniversary of this country, going to an island, we're outing with his friends, and the friends come back, and he's left there with some story about, he said, leave them behind. But then by some magic, one of the friends has his keys and his phone. Mind you, his mother tracked down the phone. They didn't voluntarily tell her they had his phone. They didn't voluntarily say they had the keys. So if they had not been tracked down, we don't know if they ever would have known where it was.
That's true.
Some of this doesn't make sense. So we are absolutely a National Action Network and other groups.
Why hold on to those items, though, if you had nothing to do with it? Why do they have to go seek those items if they didn't have anything to do with it?
Going to rally behind this family. I have told them that whatever we can and need to do, we will do it, because this smacks of some of the worst fears that we've had historically, not only in Mississippi, but in this country. And we are there until the end with them. I've been asked by the family to be in Mississippi for the funeral to officiate, which I'm going to do. We just got off the phone with Tyler Perry, the actor who says he wants to help cover whatever expenses for the funeral. We have with us Spike Lee is in the house. Many of our people that have always supported families are there. This is not about them trying to raise money. We're going to take care of that. This is about, though, they got to keep going forward. But we want justice, and let the chips fall where they may. If it ends up being one way that we suspect was wrong, fine. But if it's another way, don't back up and play games with this. They are not activists or lawyers. So they only want justice for their son. I'm an activist. When we get there and they say we heating things up, that's what we do. Because sometimes you got to make people sweat to get the poison out their system. I'm the sweat man. And they are the parents that want to see justice for their son. Let me let you hear from Christine and Elmer Wansley and then Attorney Crump. Let them hear.
Let's do it first.
Okay, Attorney Crump, and then we hear from the parent.
Okay. Thanks, Rev. Y'all can come on up before everyone else. We're going to be together. Thank you, Reverend Al, for always answering the bell, as you have done on so many occasions when families get the worst news of their life. And make no mistake about it, Christine and Elmo got the worst news of their life on what was supposed to be a joyous occasion where everybody was celebrating the 4th of July weekend. I'm Attorney Ben Crump, along with Attorney Lisa Park and Jared Presson and Camila Moore. We have the honor and the privilege of helping to lead an independent investigation on behalf of the family of Nolan Wells. Why do you say we need to be retained to lead an independent investigation? It is because the family has distrust of the Mississippi law enforcement officials giving them a fair investigation where their Black son ended up dead after going out on a boat with 3 young white men. The history of Mississippi is something that they don't just read about in books, but it's a lived experience for many Black Americans that oftentimes when our children are killed in highly questionable situations, that there is this notion that, oh, it was nothing wrong, no foul play, let's just sweep it under the rug. Well, we refuse to sweep it under the rug. We refuse to just let Nolan Wells' death be in vain. We are going to make sure that we get to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, because Nolan deserves it. You're going to hear his mother and father talk about what a wonderful young man he was. I mean, doing everything right. Reverend Al, he was not only a college student, he was a great athlete. He was a model big brother for his brothers and little brothers and sisters. And he was a great son who was on the cusp of becoming a man. I mean, Christina Elmore did everything to prepare him for this moment. He was so close. He was right there. You're going to hear his father talk about him had a good football season last year, but this season he was really ready to go to the next level, to go to Division I. I mean, the highlights that you're seeing on social media of his athletic prowess, I mean, it is all relevant, because when you start talking about drowning, I mean, this is a kid who knew how to swim. This is a kid who was in tip-top shape. He was a superior athlete. And so I'm going to get to that in a moment, these glaring contradictions, but to try to say, oh, we're suggesting it was just an accident or drowning, go ahead and move on. Well, they are not accepting it. They are not accepting it. They want to know that you have not taken the path of least resistance, that you have done a full, complete, thorough, impartial investigation, because it cannot be lost on anybody, but especially us in the Black community. If the roles were reversed and you had 3 young Black men on a boat with a young white man, and that young white man ended up dead, what kind of investigation would be being conducted by the Mississippi law enforcement officials? How many times would those 3 young Black men be interrogated?
Several times, and I got to agree with that. If the shoe was on the other foot, we would be prosecuted, cooked, fried, and filleted. If it was the other shoe on the other foot, if it was 3 black guys and one white male that went missing.
So all we're asking is the same consideration you would have given if the roles were reversed. Give that consideration to this family as well. That is our fight. The glaring contradictions just jump out at you. The fact that he is there with his friends, and you look at all the videos, it seems to be he's the only black on the island, or maybe one other, but not many. And so, Jared, you have where a young woman he was talking to says that, well, Nolan said he was going back to get on the boat with the boys. The boys say that Nolan told them he was going to stay and talk to the young woman. It's a contradiction. They're not saying the same thing. One of them is telling the truth, one of them is not. We have to get to the bottom of that. It's important. And then the fact, Reverend Al, that they have this video of an argument that is going on. And you know, thank God, all young people, they have cell phones, and anytime you hear people raising their voice, they start the video. And so you hear on the video, Nolan saying, "Give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing?" And that becomes even more relevant when you think about the story that they are presenting, that Nolan chose to stay behind. That's what they're saying. But his phone, he wouldn't take that with him if he's going to stay behind on the island. I mean, we're talking about an 18-year-old kid. What teenager would leave their phone behind if they're going to stay on this island? What teenager wouldn't take their phone? And so it's not adding up. It's not adding up at all. The fact, as Reverend Al said, you know, they then take his phone with them. His mother, when she finds out that her baby is missing, they start trying to track the phone, the GPS, the phone. They've used Life 360, and they discover that, well, the phone is on land. The phone is on land, but you're saying he went missing on the island. And so it's not adding up. And so they go get the phone. And you hear her tell herself, when her and her sister start going through his phone, Jared, they realize that there are deleted messages. So they're trying to figure out, well, why are there deleted messages on his phone? I mean, it becomes relevant when you start putting everything together, where we can't just say, oh, there's no instance of foul play. We're going to get to the truth one way or the other. The fact that, and this really makes no sense to me, Reverend Al, this notion that, well, he drowned, y'all have, I'm sure, seen all the videos out there. I mean, if he's drowning, nobody sees him drown, nobody offers assistance, nobody tries to help him. I mean, obviously, he stands out. He's, I think, the only black person I saw when I'm looking at the videos. And if you see him drowning, you mean nobody is going to try to help him? It's not adding up. It is not adding up. And that's why the family, at their behest, we had an independent autopsy being performed. And we thank Colin Kaepernick for helping to pay for that independent autopsy. And we thank Tyler Perry for helping to pay for the funeral, because as Reverend Al said, these were just regular parents going about their life. They weren't expecting any of this. And then we're having to try to hire all these experts to be able to go and see if they can retrieve deleted messages. We have to have experts. You'll hear from Attorney Park talk about, you know, where the body was found when it was recovered and how long it took to be recovered. We think all of those are relevant issues to trying to understand what really happened to Nolan Wells. And this independent autopsy is so very important because we had his body flown from Mississippi to Washington, D.C., because his family wanted to make sure that they had a doctor who had no ties to Mississippi law enforcement to do an independent examination of their son's body. And we are hopeful to get that results in the very near future. We were hoping we would have had it today. However, as you all know, here in New York, they canceled all the flights yesterday. And so it took a long time for his body to get to the medical examiner's office in Washington, D.C. But rest assured, as soon as we get those results, we will make them known to you, because we believe transparency is very important. We want to lead by example. We want them to be transparent, and we want to be transparent. We know they conducted an autopsy. We are waiting on their results as well. The final thing I will say is this. If there are any people who are on that island, any young people.
So from what they just said, there's two autopsies, or there's two investigations going on as far as the autopsy, one independent and one from the state. They don't trust the state of Mississippi, so they had to have Nolan Wells transported to Washington, D.C. to conduct that independent autopsy, which is what they're doing currently right now. They're just waiting on the results. Shoot, hold on. All right.
Who recorded videos, who witnessed things, who may have saw Nolan at any time on the island, please, please, please let us know. Please call bencrump.com, call the 800 number, just any information. They are desperate. We're in a ferocious pursuit for the truth. And y'all, if it was your child, wouldn't you want everybody who knew something to let you all know? This is a hard one, Rhea, because it's so tragic on so many levels. Rhea, before we bring the parents up, why don't we have Attorney Lisa Park, who is helping head up the investigation with our office.
My name is Lisa Park. I'm the senior attorney for the Ben Crump Law Office in Atlanta. It is our honor to work with the family to try to find answers in this case. I think that most of you at this point are aware of Ben Crump Law and many of the cases that we represent in this country. Some of these cases you don't know anything about until we get involved and we shed some light and we explain to the media what has happened, and you all let America know what has happened. Mm-hmm. Sometimes cases come and you all already know about it. This is one of those cases.
Yeah.
I saw this in the news before I got a call from Ben. This was already huge in social media, already out in general media. Why? Why? Because it doesn't take an attorney. It doesn't take a special investigator. It doesn't take someone with extreme training to know right off there's something wrong here. This is, as Ben has put it, not adding up. It is so obvious.
I gotta agree.
There are so many people in this country that go missing, right? Everybody knows this. But this case has captured everybody's attention. Think about why. you know that something is not right. It doesn't take us. It doesn't take the Reverend Al Sharpton, Ben Crump to tell you and then think, oh, now I know something's wrong. We know something is wrong. Mm-hmm. And for every single person that was in Horn Island, and we know there's about 200 people, there's a lot of people. And we know that Horn Island is a popular place during the holidays. It's a popular place on the weekends. You have to get there by boat. It's the only way to get there. You have to leave by boat. Mm-hmm. It's the only way to leave. So many people out there. If you are watching this, if you see this, and you are struggling about what to say or what to do, you know what the right thing to do is. Mm-hmm. Call Ben Crump Law. There's this thing called the internet. It's very easy to find that number. Call us. We have an entire call center. They're waiting to hear from you. If you didn't go to Horn Island, but you've heard something, because people are talking. They're talking with each other. They may not be calling the police. They may not be calling us. But you heard something. We need to know that. We need to know that. In America today, so many of us, we want to believe that the last several decades, we've made so much progress in our race relations, don't we? We want to believe that, whether you're Black or you're white or you're Asian, that's what we want to believe. We wanted to believe that this past 4th of July when we celebrated 250 years, right? If you want to believe that, you've got to be part of the solution. You've got to be part of that. You have to make it happen. And if you have information, please call us. It is incredibly important. People out there, you have answers. You may not know exactly what your information means, but if you saw something, say something, please.
Okay. Anything else?
Or if you heard something, say something.
Okay. We'll take it on question and answer.
All right, we're going to hear from the parents, and then we'll have Q&A. And what I want is when we go to the media, identify yourself and your outlet so we know who is speaking. And let me say again that we're standing with this family till the very end and make sure we're dealing with justice. Let's first hear from the mother, Christine Wansley.
First of all, I want to say thank you, everyone, for being
Hold on, folks. Smash the like button if you're in the building as well, too. Appreciate it.
here.
Welcome in, see them.
This is not how I wanted the world to meet my son, but here we are. So, as you know, I'm Christine Wells Wansley. I am Nolan Wells's mom. And Nolan is the kindest soul. He never met a stranger. He loved everybody. He didn't care if you were black, white, purple, green, looked like a marshmallow. Like, he just wanted everyone to be in peace with one another.
Hey, what up?
He loved life, and God gave him this big heart, which always scared us. Me and his dad had conversations with him all the time, not just about the importance of understanding our history as Black people, but also the importance of how you have to move in certain spaces. And it's not us feeding into racism or the stereotypes that comes with that. Unfortunately, that is just a matter of fact. There have been many cases, many instances that shows it. It's unfortunately a pattern that he did not like. He did not like that there was so much division. And I think that's why God gave him us. He was really a peacemaker. He wanted, like I said, everyone to be included. He never wanted to leave anyone out. He just, even at a young age, I don't know, he was, how old was he?
18.
No, not 18. When he was a baby, he did a little dance. So his father and I were having a moment, and as couples do, and even in that moment, he runs in the room with his diaper on, of course, and he starts dancing because it was like he could feel the tension. He could feel that something wasn't right. So he was just a special kid. Like, he was a special kid, but again, just heart was so big. And we're gonna miss him dearly. But we are grateful, especially to our friend Tashima, who actually was one of the people who helped us that night. She went and picked up his cell phone from where it was, and then provided that to us, because we of course contacted authorities to figure out who to do the report with, whether it was the county or the city, which then turned into DMR, who I contacted immediately from there. But
Can you tell them how you got the cell phone?
so our friend actually, when I called her, Nolan is best friends with her two sons, Jalen and Javon. When I called her, I said, Tashima, have you seen Nolan? He's missing. No one has seen him. No one has talked to him. The boys were actually with her sons. So they opened up their Snapchat, because a lot of the kids do have their locations where they're tracking one another. So one of the boys says, well, it's showing that, I can't exactly remember what his location was showing, but my Life 360 location was showing something completely different. It was actually showing that his phone was like he was on land. And so we ended up, she received the phone from that parent, and then we met up where his car was, which was at a separate location. There were issues obtaining the key, but even so, there was just a lot of.
Tell them about what happened with the key.
So I'm gonna let my husband tell you about that, because he actually went up to the door to get the key, because at that point, I was just not in my right mind.
Yeah, they know what happened. They know what them boys know what happened to Nolan, for real. To have his keys and his phone, and for them to track it down through Snapchat and Life 360.
This has just been an awful situation, just terrible.
Elmore Wansley, the father.
Okay, so the situation with the key. When we got to the house, a few of his friends, they were already there, and they were at the door in the house, asking questions. So when I walked up, they were getting, things were getting kind of tense. So I turned to them and told them, I need you guys to calm down. I don't do this to me right now. I need them to kind of trust me so they can give me something. So I was able to calm them down. So the guy, he's in one of the pictures, but he came out of the room, half asleep or whatever, I think Jack's or whatever. And I said, look, I'm Nolan's father. I'm here to get his keys so I can get his car. I said, he's like,
His car was in the yard.
his car's parked in the yard. So he was like, I don't know, man. Nolan's like my brother. I said, well, if Nolan was like your brother, would you please go in your room and see if you can find my son's keys so I can take his car home? He walks off, 2 or 3 minutes, come back. I can't find the keys. I said, okay. So at that point, I get the boys and I move them out the house, because I didn't want them to go into the house and start tearing up these people's houses, because then that would be a whole nother situation. So walk outside by the car. One of the guys that was in the house with us, he was on the phone with a girl, and the girl told him that Nolan's keys were on top of this Jax guy's Xbox in the house because apparently she was there with him earlier. So he goes back up to the door by himself, and 5 minutes later, the keys come out. So now I feel like you done lied to me. So now I'm really like in distrust with you. But as far as their night goes, if I knew anyone who had a boat, I would have went out that night looking for my son. We tried, but I don't have friends with boats. But if I knew someone with one, I would have went out that night. And this so happened that his coach saw all the stuff on Facebook that next morning and called and contacted me at like 5 a.m, asked me, did we want to go out? And I told him yes. So within an hour, he was at the dock. We met him and we went out. We docked the boat, got out the boat, walked on the island, walked a pretty nice stretch, came back, got back on the boat, went around the island, looked, came back around, and where we went to, that's where apparently they say that his body floated up. I don't know a lot about water currents over there, but I would think that we would have saw his body. And on the trip there was a family that stayed a night on the island, like actually tented out on the island. So if he was left, he would have saw that family on the island, and it was 2 other boats docked, so he would have had help. So I don't know. I don't know. I think we stayed there for like an hour and a half. That's when Jackson County and the sheriff department showed up, and they were going to do their rounds. And I had a classmate of mine, him and his 2 boys, that came out and they searched, and then they got back in touch with me and said the Coast Guard had finally showed up in airplanes. So
what is so critical, what Elmore is saying is they went out on Sunday, and the tide, if it brought his body up, he went missing on July 4th, as they say. His body should have been there on July 5th. Why would it not appear to July 6th? And that's one of those things that's just not adding up. And the fact that if he stayed behind on the island, there were boats there, there were people, somebody had to see something. That's why it's not adding up. And that's,
I agree.
That's what they're saying. It's just not adding up.
Yes.
And if he was there 2 days, somebody on the island would be able to verify that. 2 days and nobody's come forward and say, no, he was with us, or no, we saw him. It just does not make sense. Make it make sense.
Just one last thing. We want her to talk about the cell phone deleted message.
Yeah, that's crazy. My Joy said, and the fact that they didn't even offer to bring the father back out there to look is crazy. Yeah, and like, why lie about something so small about the keys? Mississippi do have a history of racism as well, too. And that's something that Ben Crump had pointed out earlier. He said they're not going to play the racist card, but you cannot discount racism either. And I have to agree because, for example, the Trey Reed case, that was Mississippi. The Mississippi Goon Squad, where the 6 officers, they beat those inmates damn near to death. And then now this. So
I'm sorry. I thought my voice was loud enough. One last thing. We want to have Christine talk about the cell phone from her perspective before they tell you who Nolan was. And then we'll take your questions.
So when we made it home, my sister and I actually went through Nolan's cell phone, particularly Snapchat, because that is so popular with the children. And when we opened it up, there was nothing. There were no saved pictures. There were no snaps from that day. And we did open it before the 24-hour expiration. So we found that very concerning, only because anyone who's ever been around Nolan will tell you at social gatherings, he's taking videos, he's taking pictures, he's even come up to me when I'm getting ready to go to bed. Hey, Ma, come on, take a picture of me. You know, like that was Nolan. So that's why we feel that things may have been deleted, was because of the fact that there was nothing in either one of his accounts. But I do want to say this. I would hope that any parent who, God forbid, would be in our situation, I would hope that you would do the same thing. I would hope that you would ask for any help, receive any help to get answers, because at the end of the day, that's all we want. We just want to know. We just want to know what happened and why our baby didn't come home. Like that's our biggest thing. And we are so grateful to everyone, family, friends, classmates, United Cajun Navy, everybody that's assisted us. We appreciate you. There's not enough thank yous that we could say or give to you, but I just, we just want to know. We want an honest, thorough investigation. That's all we're asking for. That's it.
Do you want to say about who Nolan was, and then we talk about you?
Nolan is a person with a big heart. He's loved by not just his family, but the community. He's a born people person. He really developed a bond with his baby brother, because both of them play the same position. So he was really understanding the business side of the sport, which is football, and understand that it's not just a game you playing. So the stuff that I was telling him, it was kind of starting to sink into him, and he was really getting more in depth into it. And I could see as he did that, his baby brother really started getting more into it as well, as far as being more focused, because he saw, well, if my big brother is about to go do this great thing, then I want to do this great thing, but I want to do it better. That's why that's what made them so like vinegar and oil. It was like they was always at each other, but they were the same. When I look at my youngest, I'll say Nolan, or when I look at Nolan, I'll say my youngest.
Welcome in, me too, Five. So appreciate you pulling up.
They would train together. I would always say, hey, you did some push-ups, you done ran some routes. And they know when I say that, next day they're out there running routes. Even my other son, he'll go out there. He doesn't play their position, but he will go out there and work and exercise and work out, because they were understanding what I was talking about. They were growing, they were becoming men. So this was his time. He would always talk to me. I would always give him my advice about stuff. I always try to tell him what to look for. And I was always telling him, I said, son, I'm giving you this advice and I'm telling you this stuff, but you're going to have to experience this. But when you experience it, it won't be foreign to you. You'll have some kind of idea of how to navigate through it. And I think me and his mother, I think we did a great job with that. That's why it's so hard for me to believe that he would choose to stay on the island. It just wasn't his character. It wasn't his character. So Nolan is the funniest kid in our family. Speaking of the time she was talking about, yeah, we were having a kind of heated moment, and I don't know if you guys remember the dance called Stanky Leg. I think my son created it because we were sitting in that closet looking and just like talking. He literally came to the closet door and peeked around and stood in front of him and just started doing this little crazy dance. And I was like, we just bust out like whatever we was arguing about, we stopped laughing, then we called them to us and we just hugged and laughed and played. But then maybe 6 months later, the song is a hit. But we always said he created the stinky leg dance. But that's my greatest memory of my son.
What are you telling your other children about this?
My son Ethan, he's hurting. These are the ones these are the younger ones. He's like, Dad, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm like, son, you got to keep going, because he would want you to be better. His youngest brother Elmore, the one that really worked out with him, he was like, I'm hurting, Dad, but I said, Nolan wants you to be the best he can be. He would want you to outdo him, and whenever you feel like you're in a bind or having some kind of problem, call on your brother, talk to your brother. My twins, the loss of a younger sibling is hurting them. They have to figure out how to navigate through life without him. And my daughter Carly, with her being away, it's really hard for her because she's not around family now. So she's out on her own, doing life what life does, but she's doing it on her own. So she has to do this by herself. We're here, by phone, but we're not there in person. So she really has to draw on the people that's around her when she's not home. So all together, my family, this is going to be our new norm. He was the jester in my court, and yeah, he will be missed greatly, not by us, but by the whole community.
We will announce the funeral services when it is finalized, and we'll be going to help I will officiate at the funeral in Mississippi.
Now, Tyler Perry has also is contributing to the cost for the funeral, so that's also covered. And then Colin Kaepernick has also assisted with the independent investigation with the autopsy as well. So we're still waiting around for those results. I don't believe they did any forensic search on the phone just yet, or have a forensic expert, analyze the phone. That too costs money as well if they want it done independently.
Again, we'll take your questions, but identify who you are, and please be respectful to families in mourning. But because they want justice for their son, they came to New York to make this appeal. But let's not make this a circus. Yes.
Christine and her child from the New York Post. First of all, I just want to say I'm so sorry about the loss of the family. I have a couple of questions. When was the last time you heard from Nolan? What did he say? Was there a call or a text?
So the question, I don't know if you guys can barely hear her, but I got the closed caption on. She said, when was the last time he made a call? What did he say? Or was there a call or a text?
During that last interaction. And also, how do you know that it's Nolan saying, give me my phone, when you do in that video?
Say that last question.
So she just asked, how do we know that's Nolan in the video that's saying, give me my phone and things like that? That was the question she asked.
How do you know that it's Nolan saying, give me my phone when you're doing in that video?
Yeah. Well, you want the second one is other children who are saying it was Nolan. Yeah.
So the last time we spoke and saw Nolan was July the 3rd. He actually cooked dinner for us because I had gotten off work. It's been really busy. And so he cooked dinner. It was salmon. He baked it. So proud. And then after that, he was just like, hey, Mom, I'm about to go. I love you. Gave us a hug, kiss, and he left. Which, of course, he knew we always looked at the Life 360. So there were times maybe he didn't call us to let us know when he made it, but we would see it. He would text at some point, but that was the last time we saw and spoke with him.
Sir.
Two questions. First, who was doing the independent autopsy in Washington, D.C.? And second question is, as part of your independent investigation, have you planned to reach out to the other voices that ask them to voluntarily speak to your investigation?
So the question he asked was, who was conducting the independent investigation in Washington, D.C., and do they plan on having the boys, the friends, cooperate with that independent investigation that they're conducting as well, too?
Dr. Roger Mitchell is doing the independent autopsy on behalf of Nolan Wells' family. And we understand that the young men have lawyers, so we will have to have their lawyers agree to let them speak to our investigators, and we have not attempted to talk to them as of yet. We have been attempting to talk to many of the students and people who are out there that we are aware of.
Okay. Right here.
Oh, okay. Justin Finch, Inside Edition, asking a question here. First, for the family, wondering if you recall from your friend what was said to her by the people who gave her Nolan's phone, and for Attorney Crump, wondering for you, at some point, will that phone be given to police for their investigation? They've expressed interest.
Yes.
So the exact wording of the exchange, it was through phone because, again, we were busy trying to figure out who was going to take the missing persons report. Just because when it's in water, when it occurs on the island, it's not necessarily the city or the county, because then it becomes an issue of jurisdiction. So like I said, she went there and spoke with, I cannot remember, I'm so sorry, my brain is everywhere. But she went to the house and retrieved the phone. She said, I have his phone. The phone was okay. As far as like appearance goes, it didn't look damaged or anything. And so then after that, we met with her at the other house where he had stayed the night, July the 3rd, where his car was. Because it was important for us to try to retrieve everything of his that we could. But it honestly, for both instances, it was a runaround because I know she had issues getting his phone as well. And she ended up calling me, and I think I spoke with the mother. She put me on speakerphone, and I was like, hey, yes, I'm Christine. I'm Nolan's mom. We need his phone. We're trying to find him.
Yes.
I guess.
Okay.
So why is it a struggle to get the phone back, though? Like, why you have to put up a fight to get it back and get the car keys? Like, why? See, that's what's making me suspect that they're involved.
We'll go her and then you.
I guess let me answer this second.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It just doesn't make sense. There are too many contradictions. And now this cell phone video apparently adding more questions as to what really happened. Those words coming from attorney Ben Crump saying,
she kind of like over talking the question that I wanted to hear about the phone. So let me try to find another video of this because she just over talking. I wanted to hear the question they asked was they going to have someone analyze the phone independently? But I didn't get to hear that part because she was over talking it. So let me try to find it. Okay, so yeah, I found a better one, guys. Hold on. So we're about to wrap up the last few minutes of this press conference real quick. Yeah, they were trying to get rid of evidence. And the fact that they lawyered up, it's going to be real hard to even get them to cooperate in this investigation now because you're going to have to speak with their attorneys or even get permission from their attorneys to even give a statement.
As far as like appearance goes, it didn't look damaged or anything. And so then after that, we met with her at the other house where he had stayed the night, July the 3rd, where his car was. Because it was important for us to try to retrieve everything of his that we could. But it honestly, for both instances, it was a runaround because I know she had issues getting his phone as well.
And she ended up calling me, and I think I spoke with the mother. She put me on speakerphone, and I was like, hey, yes, I'm Christine, I'm Nolan's mom. We need his phone. We're trying to find him.
Yes. I guess, okay, we'll go her and then you.
I guess let me answer the second part of the question. Absolutely, after our experts be able to examine the phone, we will let the Mississippi investigators examine the phone. And it's fortuitous that they have the phone because.
So they actually already have forensic analysts that's going through the phone as well as they're having the independent doctor do the autopsy. So they have their team working on it. It's going to take some time to get both of these results back. But they're also having the state of Mississippi do these exact testing. I don't know about the phone, if they're testing that or not, but I do know that they doing the autopsy as well.
Normally in these investigations, as you know, Reverend Al, they would have the phone and stuff, and they would keep it for months. And the family just be in limbo. But thank God we have the phone now. We're going to do it expeditiously and give it to them to examine it as well.
Anna Schechter with CBS News. So you said that he stayed the night at a friend's. The first question is, did he stay with the friends that he went on the boat with?
Yes, he did.
And my second question is, has anyone come forward and provided you with other photographs or videos from Horn Island from July 4th that afternoon?
They're starting to send them to our office, and that's what Attorney Parker was being so adamant about. Please continue to send whatever videos you got, whatever pictures you got, and we're very thankful that some young people have done that.
Good afternoon. Darla Miles, ABC 7 New York. First of all, I would like to extend my condolences to you, Mr. and Mrs. Wells. I know this is very brave of you, and we appreciate your transparency. Two questions, also in regards to you, Reverend Al, Mr. Crump. My first question is, this happened in Mississippi, and you've traveled here to meet with Reverend Al Sharpton. Why was this important to you, and how meaningful has this meeting been with you here in New York?
So we did this because, once again, what we're wanting is transparency.
What kind of question is that? They're the parents. I mean, there's a child that's missing and is unalive. Why would they not be there?
Right. Although I do absolutely respect law enforcement, just the fact that the accidental drowning thing, it made both me and his father uncomfortable. Why are we so quick to rush to this? And we just, at the end of the day, we want answers. This has been very impactful. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the day they found him, we were at Port Mars, which is one of the boat launches. And I was standing beside the water, and I had said a prayer, and I was like, Lord, this isn't what we wanted, but I just asked him to help us get through this, put the right people in our path that could potentially help us, because at that point we hadn't reached out to anybody. We didn't know where to start. This is foreign. We've never been through this. No parent should go through this. And then that's when my cousin, Keezy, she sent me a message with some information. My friend, Bianca, her sister knows a contact with Attorney Ben. And so I said, okay, this has to be it. This has to be God helping us along the way. And I am not religious, but I am spiritual. And for that, I was grateful, because I felt like things were being set up. And at this point, I have always said, we are taking any help. We don't care, black, white, purple. Again, we just want to know what happened. That's all we want to know. We just want to know what happened.
And my quick follow-up to that, were you able to get a clear explanation as to the chain of custody of this phone, how that parent came in possession of this phone? And then explain the resistance. You said you went to the home to get.
She hogging all the questions, yeah.
keys. I don't understand, like, what kind of resistance, what was that exchange of words like, the resistance that you received when you went to go retrieve his keys? Thank you.
He just acted like he didn't know where they were. He just like, he was like he was clueless. Like, he was like, I don't know. I don't like, just please. I was like, just please go in the room and look for me. Cause be honest with you, at that time, I was very emotional. No one was giving me any answer. So that situation with me and them could have went totally left field. But since those other young kids were in there, at that moment, they kept me from doing what I wanted to do. So getting them and calming them down, it helped me focus on what I was really there for, to find the keys. And like I said, when I asked him, he said he went and looked. And so when he said he couldn't find them, I did what I needed. I left out of their home. And like I said, 5 minutes later, he come back out with the keys. And they didn't come back outside anymore until the police came. Because at that time, police were called because we were looking for his wallet. And then they went to the door. But other than that, when they sent the keys out,
welcome in, Chandra.
They locked everything. They didn't want nothing to do with what was outside that door. So that right there is, when you lied to me, it killed all trust in anything we had to say.
All right, we'll take the last 4. 1, 2, 3.
And that's because if you lie about something so small, you'll lie about something so big.
4. Go ahead.
I'm Maria Campanodi with CNN. 2 questions for Attorney Crump, just to get some clarification on the timeline of the events. When was Nolan last seen and by whom? And the second question is, who first reported Nolan missing and when?
Well, and I asked his mother to also assist on the second question. But as it's conflicts, you know, the young woman said that he went and got back on the boat with the boys. The boys say no. He said he was going to stay with her. And that's a conflict. And the troubling thing is if they're saying, well, he made the decision to stay behind, would an 18-year-old college student say, go ahead without me, I don't want my cell phone or anything? It just doesn't add up. And so that around that 3 o'clock time seems to be the last time that we have those statements. However, as Christine said, they're suggesting that they didn't leave to 4:30 though. So, you know, if you said you were leaving at 3, why you left at 4:30, and where was Nolan for that hour?
An hour and a half.
I think she was asking about the cell phone.
When was he last seen?
Oh, I asked the last scene. I thought you said something else.
When was he first?
Oh, missing. Okay.
So his friend contacted me. It was around 11:07, and then I called my friend to ask her had she seen him, because that would be the only other place I would think he would go if he were back on land. And so then when she told me no, she was like, "Don't worry, I'm going to look for him." And that's when we got on the phone. First, I called. It was either the county or Ocean Springs. It was either one of them. But whichever I called first, I was directed to call DMR because so DMR, if I'm not mistaken, they handle cases with the island or the water in that area. So the young lady took the information down. She's like, "I'm going to give you a call back." I said, "Okay." So when she called me back, she explained to me, she was like, "I've spoken with the Coast Guard," which his friend had contacted the Coast Guard. Warren had contacted the Coast Guard to report Nolan missing as well. So I'm on the phone with the DMR. He's calling Coast Guard. And she said, "I spoke with Coast Guard, and you're going to have to complete the report with," I think it was Ocean Springs. So we go down to the Ocean Springs Police Department. We're told because it's a jurisdiction issue, that they can't file the missing police report. Jackson County the Sheriff's Department ends up calling me back, I think if I remember this correctly, and she was calling to check to see were they able to do it. I told her no, they couldn't do it. The young lady on the phone and the officer at Ocean Springs Police Department spoke. He explained to her why Ocean Springs Police Department could not complete the missing persons report. She said, okay. He gives the phone back. She's like, look, I'm just going to go ahead and do it so there's no more back and forth. So my husband and I, we met an officer in the McDonald's parking lot. I think at this point it's maybe around 12. Don't quote me on that. But we explained to him, what he looked like, age, all those things. Last time he was reported seen, which again, by his friend, he said that the last time he physically saw him was at 3 p.m. and they were getting ready to leave the island.
Israel Rodriguez with the U.S. Sun. Have you been able to gather additional information made by Warren's mother actually on social media, where she said the group left the island after they experienced trouble with the boat and that the boat began taking in water?
Your question is what directly? We know she made that statement.
Have you been able to gather additional information on that?
No, we have not.
Thank you. Kevin Ortega-Rojas with Here's Why News. I was hoping that the family could clarify Nolan's relationship with the young men that he traveled to the island with. We've heard different accounts of how long.
Yeah, that's the burning question that I want to know. How long does he know these people and where does he know them from?
He's known them, and I was wondering also if you folks have spoken to those families since they lawyered up.
High school friends.
Say the second part again.
Last question.
Thank you so much, Rev. I want to speak to the family. I stand here as a first cousin of a victim. In 2020, he went out with his friend and the mother, who was white, and he went missing. He was found dead, deceased, in a field behind her house. She was arrested. She was charged with failing to report a missing child and contributing to the delinquent of a juvenile. So your story is very familiar. Your pain, I feel it too. And I will continue to advocate. I'm an activist and I go all across the world. But today I'm here because I stand with you. As a cousin of a victim, I know what you feel when you don't get justice and the system is up against you.
God bless you. Thank you. We will follow up and when we're ready to formal announcements. Again, the funeral service is not to prompt religion, it's to seek justice and unity. And we want everybody, black, white, everybody to come and extol what this young man represented. It's not a protest rally. It will be to really lift up the spirit of this young man and to stand with the family. If we have to do protest rallies, that'll be announced at another time. But the funeral services is to talk about how Nolan was a great young man to his family, and we're there to comfort them. Thank you for your time. Let us, please.
So I know I have been seeing some younger people, real adults, older people doing protests. We actually had a very small one in Ocean Springs. Some young boys that knew Nolan, actually some of his friends. So what Elmore and I would like to say is, if you do, please be peaceful. Nolan was not someone who liked fights, physical fights. He really didn't even like arguments. So don't go out there trying to be tough. Just think about what Nolan would want. And I'm telling you, he would not want that type of behavior. So let's just make sure that we keep it peaceful and respectful to one another's and others, and just stay away from negativity, but also to all of those who
have sent beautiful messages. We have not gone through all of them, but I want you to know that we appreciate you, your love, your support, standing with us, and just keep us in your prayers.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so that concludes the press conference that I wanted to share and talk about. Yeah, I definitely smell a cover up on this for real. And I am glad that Ben Crump and Reverend Al Sharpton are involved in this case. So right now we're just waiting on those independent autopsy reports and for them to conduct their independent forensic analysis on the cell phone. But it's going to take a few days for that. But I appreciate everybody in here. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. I'm going to close it out tonight. Y'all have a good one.